Father, we thank you, Lord, for this day. We thank you now for the time that we're going to spend together working on the future plans of this city. And Lord, we pray, Father, that you'd give us wisdom from on high. Give us an unusual wisdom tonight from you. We thank you, Lord, for what you've given us here and how you've blessed this place in a mighty way. We pray that you'd be with each topic that's on the schedule tonight, Lord, and just help us to make decisions that would be honoring and glorifying to you, Father. And we'll thank you for all that's done tonight. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Please join me in honoring our flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Sparky?
Here.
Jonathan Irving?
Here.
Dana Haycock?
Here.
Dan Jacobs?
Here.
Raj Moldy?
Here.
Vice Chair Sandy Smith?
Here.
Chairman James Bowes?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Public business from the floor. If an individual is unable to stay through the entire meeting due to extenuating circumstances, a total of 10 minutes is provided at this time, during which input may be given regarding agenda items. Individual speakers would be limited to 2 minutes each. Do we have any early speakers, Mr. Ludicky?
None that have indicated, Mr.
All right.
Chairman.
Any person who would like to address the Planning Commission on any agendized item is requested to complete a speaker's card for the recording secretary and identify the agenda item you'd like to discuss. Each person will be given an opportunity to address the Planning Commission at the time such item is discussed by the Commission. Speaker cards are available at the rear of the chamber and here at the front table on your right. First item of business is our consent calendar, which is the minutes of the regular meeting of May 18th and the minutes of the special meetings of March 23rd, April 13th, and May 11th. Have a motion, please.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of May 18th and the minutes from the special meetings of March 23rd, April 13th, and May 11th, 2009.
Second.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions from anyone? Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. The next item is a continued public hearing. This is a public hearing on conditional use permit 0712, which is which we heard 2 months ago. This is relative to the construction of a commercial shopping center and related facilities at the northwest corner of 60th Street West and Avenue K. So without objection, the public hearing is open. Could we have staff report, please?
Good evening, Commissioner Vos and Planning Commissioners. This item was continued from the April 20th Planning Commission regarding 6 concerns that Commissioners had, and you gave us 60 days to allow the applicant to work with staff regarding the following items. The first item regarding that commercial shopping center was to revise the gas station delivery access for semi-truck circulation and to provide sufficient ingress and egress for the delivery of gasoline from the large semi-trucks tanks. Anyways, basically the site plan has been revised, and I believe we have some handouts. Let's see if I can find them up here. That show the access for the trucks, the ingress and egress. Exhibit 1 is the truck circulation for Pad E, which is your gas station. It shows that trucks can get in and out of the site, and that the...
Is that Exhibit 1 you're referring to?
Is it Exhibit 1? I said Exhibit E. I'm sorry. I said I meant for Pad E, Exhibit 1 for Pad E.
Okay.
But as you can see on the site plan, there are areas where they have the truck loading and unloading for the gasoline. Those things are typically reviewed at the plan check stage. But if we have any questions regarding that, I believe I can defer this to Carlisle Workman, who can probably explain it better than I can.
Thank you. Go ahead. The movement that shows on our Exhibit 1 is if I read this correctly, a backing movement over the tanks?
I believe that they would be making a left turn in off of 60th Street West and then backing in parallel to the tanks, filling the tanks, and then pulling out and exiting onto Avenue K is the way I'm seeing it.
So the expectation would be either a semi or a truck and trailer would be backing in?
Yes, 75-foot vehicle length is what
A set of doubles is going to back up, huh?
You would have to ask the gas station designer to explain that fully, but that's what it appears from the diagram, that yes, they would back up.
That's very interesting. All right, thank you.
Okay, the second item was the loading zone for Pad C.
That's Exhibit 2?
No, the loading zone for Pad Z is an item, is Exhibit 2. And as you can see on the site plan, the loading zone is included in Pad Z in the revised site plan. The loading zone is located adjacent to the trash compactor, and both will be screened by block walls and landscaping. This. Exhibit 2 is how the trucks enter and exit, and that's the circulation. I'll move towards that.
Pad C, Exhibit 2 that you handed out to us?
That's correct. That's Exhibit 2.
Have you addressed the concerns that were raised relative to the length of the throat of the loading and unloading area?
I think you should ask the applicant regarding that concern.
So you didn't get a response. All right, thank you.
Item number 3. Let's see. I believe the commission requested semi-truck parking for pads B and D. And although that the applicant didn't include it in the site plan, he did include it in Exhibit 3 and scenario option 1 and option number 2.
Okay.
Scenario 1 includes 2 semi-truck parking spaces, one for each pad located adjacent to the utility area. The result of the configuration is a loss of 19 parking spaces, interference with handicap access, and reverse maneuvering. And Exhibit 3 shows access in and out of the, for the semi-truck circulation. Let's see if I can find this. I was looking for the other options. The second option, the applicant provides a semi-truck parking space parallel to the driveway access between Pad B and Pad D. This figure basically would make it more difficult for pedestrian access, and it results in a loss of 31 parking spaces. Staff has reviewed a number of commercial center plans, but found no instance where semi-truck parking for these types of proposed establishments have been provided. So staff feels that due to the limited delivery time, significant loss of parking spaces immediately adjacent to the establishments, and potential pedestrian hazards, the current site plan presented without the semi-truck parking space is preferred. I'll move back towards that.
I had a quick question for Pad B and D. You were saying there are two different options, is that correct?
That's right. In your packets, you have loading option number 2 and loading option number 1. I was looking for it up on the screen, but I haven't been able to find it.
I see Exhibit 3 for Pad B and D. What was the other option?
We did hand them out at agenda review. I can pass these to you.
Okay, gotcha. That was from the previous meeting. Okay.
Okay, if we move on to item number 4, basically the commission wanted to make sure that the neighborhood there was an adequate neighborhood outreach, and the applicant modified the neighborhood outreach to approximately a 4 square mile area to determine concerns regarding traffic, noise, and lighting. Out of the 960 mailers, the applicant received 194 responses, with approximately 70% responding favorable towards the project and 30% in opposition. Item number 5. I don't believe we have a exhibit, but on your site plan, you'll see that the applicant worked with the 4 adjoining neighbors and went with a hammerhead turnaround design. The neighbors were able, those four neighbors received an additional 26 feet of land. They will have a 8-foot block wall and a 6-foot block wall that turns it from the 8-foot block wall into the home. In addition, staff's requesting landscaping in the front yard and side yards on that. The homeowners seem to be happy with that response. And item number 6, the applicant worked with the school district, and the school district, I believe Gina Russell, the school district superintendent, has agreed on the conditions of the walking to ensure a student safety plan which crosses the property. In addition to that, the applicant has revised the phasing plan so that Phase 2 only contains Lowe's building. Therefore, the conditions have been revised accordingly, and all improvements except one pertaining to the Lowe's structure are to be performed with the construction of Phase 1. Staff is recommending approval of the project. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding this.
Thank you, Ms. Donovan. Anyone have any questions before we hear from the public? Go ahead.
Can you tell me how you figured the parking stall requirements for the gas station and associated car wash? Or how many did you figure that you need for that specific part of the development?
Typically, parking for car washes is just the retail center and the area for the retail center and the number of people working at the center.
And how many would that be?
I have to check the site plan to look at it, so just a second.
Okay, sorry. Part B of my question would be then, is the associated parking with that building, are the parking stalls just for that building, or is it to fill the requirement for the rest of the center?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Basically, what I'm trying to get at, I'm not sure how many parking spaces we have here, but are all of these around the islands for that proposed Pad E? Or are they needed for the rest of the center?
Well, the parking adjacent to Pad E is for Pad E, and typically it would be 2,700 divided by 250.
Okay.
And, but parking is, for the whole center, reciprocal access parking. So you could park near Pad E and go, if you wanted to walk to Pad D or B or
Right.
all the way to A, you could if you wanted to.
So the parking's reciprocal.
That's correct.
All right. Any more? Since we're on Pad E, the site plan that I have that you provided to us, which I assume is the latest, does not show any loading area at all for Pad E, wherein all the remainder of the pads have some form of loading. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything before we open for the public hearing? For the public? All right. So, Mr. Ludicky, do we have speakers?
Several, Mr. Chairman. I don't know whether, I have one person listed as representing the applicant. I don't know if the applicant has other people to speak, but the person I have listed as representing them is David Sinclair.
All right, why don't we hear from the applicant then? Whomever that is. Dave. Mr. Sinclair?
Good evening, Chairman Vos and Commissioners. There's not much more to say other than what staff has already reported. I just wanted to thank staff for the work that they've done and to help us, especially in the community outreach work. Jonathan Irvin was a big help in meeting with the neighbors and trying to resolve the conflicts that we had with them initially and to come to a resolution for that. And I'd also like to publicly thank the neighbors that we worked with, that they were very concerned but yet accommodating, and we appreciate their willingness to work with us to get this project underway. The development team is here to answer any questions that you might have, and in the interest of time, I know we have a number of speaker cards. We have a number of speakers to speak in support, but I was thinking that in the interest of time, maybe we could just have them stand in lieu of speaking. I don't want them to forfeit their right to speak, but if it would be okay to just have them stand up to register their support.
That's fine if you wish to do that, but they will be given an opportunity to speak if they choose.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. The supporters want to stand up? Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And we did, for the record, receive a copy of the Community Outreach Report dated June 5th, 2009, prepared by Passantino and Anderson, which we've had an opportunity to review last week. Thank you. And incidentally, for the record, we also received some correspondence handed to us today from Paul and Karen Ferguson, as well as Don Mercer Fee. So, for the record. Do we have another speaker, Mr. Ludicky?
Haney Malik.
Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Chairman Voss, Commissioners. My name is Hani Malak. I'm the architect on the project. Do you need to have my information? McKinley Malak Architects, Pasadena, California. Glad to be with you here this evening, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. I know that you've got a number of questions regarding the loading, so I'm happy to respond to those questions. Regarding the Pad E, I think that's one of the concerns that was pointed out, having to do with the truck circulation for the gas station. What we showed in the exhibit that is before you, and I don't have the same exhibits as you do with the numbers, but if you look at the exhibit for the truck circulation, what we were showing is a 75-foot truck and trailer access coming into the gas station car wash. And yes, it is backing into that space. The intent is that there definitely would have to be a flagman of some sort to be there because it would take a two-man operation, either somebody from the gas station service themselves coming out and assisting the backup maneuvering. However, I also have to say, with another caveat on this, is that currently we don't have a gas station operation in hand right now that we're looking at. Although we're in discussions with a number of operators, Chevron, Mobil, and 76, to name a few. And at that point, when we do have an operation in hand, we will be coming back again in front of the Commission to show you exactly how the maneuvering will be taking place. There'll be another CUP for the alcohol services and uses of that operation. And at that point, we will have more specific guidelines of how exactly that operation will take place, and that will be in conjunction with their layout.
If I can interrupt you, sir. Did I understand you to say that you will be back before the Commission for this particular use of a gas station?
That's the intent, because I'm sure the operation of the gas station at that point will again
Actually, if the action is to approve the conditional use permit tonight, you would not be back before us for the operation of the station, only for alcoholic beverage sales if you choose to file a permit. Isn't that correct, Mr. Ludicky?
They would need to come back for any kind of mini market and alcohol sales request, yes.
But not for the gas station use?
If it turned out to be a straight gasoline station use, no, they would not.
Or gasoline station car wash, you would not come back?
Yeah, and I guess our intent...
That's why we're raising the issues now.
Right, and our intent is to have a mini mart in the operation of that service station.
So there's no other way to design the circulation on this pad to accommodate a direct drive-in and drive-out for truck and trailers or semis?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
There's no other method of design to accommodate a direct drive-through of a truck and trailer to deliver gasoline at this site the way you've laid it out? Is there an alternate to the way you've laid it out?
The issues, there's some constraints that in negotiation with the city staff, Public Works.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking if there's a methodology to design it to where you don't have a backing movement.
I understand. And what I was trying to say is because the constraints of where the access points into the site, both on 60th Street and on J12, we were trying to limit all truck access off of J12 and continue to keep the operation off of 60th. And so based on the 2 points of ingress-egress on 60th, we were limited in how exactly to maneuver accessibility around the site based on the access points. And so therefore, to try to do a one-way maneuvering where you don't have to back up, it's very, very complicated to try to do that. And again, that's just based on the geometry of the layout, based on the access points provided. So the situation I'm showing right now is the best based on the current design, intended design of the gas station. If the design was to be manipulated one way or the other, then at that point we'll definitely have to re-examine how exactly the truck circulation would take place.
Thank you.
I think it probably also has something to do with the amount of parking that you need, too. Would that be correct?
Yeah, and at this point, I think as the principal planner has mentioned now, Sylvia, as that the intended parking field is all reciprocal and so it's all intended uses, cross-access between all the different uses. So once we do have an actual operation on site here, we will know if we can move some of the stalls away from there so we can get a better one-way turnabout within the gas station site area.
I mean, it would seem to me that the best way to do that would be to put the tanks directly north of the gasoline islands, but you'd have to get rid of 8 parking places. That way the driver could come in, unload perpendicular to the islands, and then go out. But you need every single one of those parking places, right?
At this point, I do. Yes, at this point, I do. However, again, depending on how the final operator will be for the site, I might be able, like you said, turn the bays 90 degrees facing north-south. And at that point, I might be able to move the truck circulation about the center a lot easier. Where they come off of 60th, they go directly north, then head over to west, and then back out southbound. And so it would be a one singular direction rather than having a backup condition. But again, that's all going to be based on what my final configuration of that gas station site will be. But there's definitely ways of working that out, and if that's a condition that needs to be put on the project, as it has to be a singular direction, so certainly we can probably work with something like that.
Just seems awfully crowded to me. I don't know about everybody else.
You are aware that the planning director has some flexibility as it relates to parking accommodations. Yeah, there are some adjustments that the director can make, even up to and including after the fact, if and when we approve this project. So there may be some opportunities there to accommodate a smoother, safer ingress and egress for gasoline delivery, and that's really all we're looking at.
I understand.
I think the safety aspect is the most important.
I understand.
That is one of your main access points into your facility. So backing movements are always challenging. Thank you. You can go ahead and proceed. You still have an opportunity to present your entire statement. As long as it takes.
I think there was another couple of questions regarding the PAT-C loading situation, and I just wanted to address that. This is for the CVS. As you can see in the latest exhibit that was provided, we actually have elongated the loading area, although CVS is very flexible on the size truck that they use. 62 truck and trailer is what they use. We're showing a 65-foot depth of bay for the full loading of the truck, so that actually the entire truck will be parked within that loading bay. Again, deliveries for CVS is once a week with a semi of that sort, and they're only there for about half an hour to 40 minutes for deliveries. But otherwise, the rest of the deliveries are typically through smaller Pepsi, Coke kind of trucks, which are of the 40 to 45 foot delivery apparatuses. So all of those will fit snug and tight within that loading configuration. So
what you're saying is you revised the site plan to give you a 65-foot throat?
Yes, we did.
Without interfering with the on-site circulation?
Yes, and that's provided in the latest exhibit that you have right now.
Well, the plan we have is only 60 feet.
It should be in these exhibits with the yellow markings.
A little hard to measure those. I'll take your word for it, though.
Yeah. If you have what is called out as Exhibit 2, you should be mentioned.
You say they're at least 65 feet?
Yes.
And that the over-the-road equipment that CVS and Rite Aid uses is 62 feet.
62 feet.
That allows you 3 feet for the lift.
In the back, yes.
In the back, the lift in the back, only 3 feet. It depends on how they want to do their operation, whether they're going to do it with a lift or they're going to do you're speaking of a scissor lift operation. Yes. Or if they're going to have a back of a truck. I've never seen one without it delivering to Rite Aid or CVS, but maybe they have them, I don't know.
Or if they choose to do a dock high situation. And again, that's
There's no docks on this plan, though, are there?
no, there's, but the intended piece in here is that it shows that the entire truck can fit within that apparatus.
If you say it's going to fit, then we expect it will.
Yes,
If it doesn't, it'll be a challenge.
I understand. And CVS will not be happy with that challenge. We understand that.
All right, do you have anything more you want to add?
No, I'm here to answer any other
Anyone
questions
else
that
have
the
any
commission may
questions?
have.
Mr. Berkey?
I just had a quick question on Pad E again, backing up to that. That's a double rig, right? 2 trailers. You're talking about backing that up?
Again, it depends on who the operator is. The way that we laid out this truck and trailer situation is for a 75 apparatus, so it would be a single, not a double rig. Again, it depends on who the operator is and whether they want a maneuvering of a double rig. Then we'll have to lay out that with a double rig condition to see exactly how that.
So the way it's laid out on this, on Exhibit...
on Exhibit 1?
1
Yes.
would be for a single trailer 75-foot rig?
Yes.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
And you folks have had an opportunity to review all the conditions that have been provided to you, including the condition related to the student safety requirements, and you're satisfied with that and will abide by those conditions?
Yes, we are. And I think there was a plan that was presented for how we would maneuver the children around during the time of construction. Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, sir. Have another speaker?
Scott McGuff.
Passes.
Don Mercer-Fee.
Ms. Fee?
I want to thank everybody here.
Excuse me, ma'am. Ma'am. Ms. Fee, would you please step to the microphone so we can record your comments?
All right. I just want to thank everybody that's been working on this. I think this is long overdue. And I live very close to this area. I live near intersection of 60th and J. I'm on J4. So it would be terrific for me, and whatever little thing I could do to help, I'm willing to do it. I'm a writer, but I'm flexible. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have another speaker, please?
Josephine Clausen.
Evening and welcome. We have 2 speakers.
I hope she won't speak very much, though. Yes, my name is Josephine Clausen. I'm from Sweden. I just recently...
If you could speak up so we could hear you, please.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
My name is Josephine Clausen, and I just recently relocated here from Sweden. And I'm just really happy that you have this planning project in the neighborhood. It helps me and my kids to have convenience stores near where we live, and I walk a lot, and since I'm European, and I like the convenience to have something near. It's kind of too hot in this neighborhood for me otherwise, and appreciate that, and I hope you have somewhere where you can, like restaurants, and I saw you have that too in this project, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And my whole family is.
Very good. Thank you for your
Thank
comments.
Jerry Settlemeyer. Jose Montelengo. Okay.
Evening and welcome.
Thank you very much. Definitely an exciting project. Definitely, I live on J4 and 61st Street. So this would definitely be a great stimulus package for us, for my kids to go out and spend money there, walking to the store rather than driving to the store, teach them how to do commerce. So I'm very excited, so I'm waiting for this approval to get going and definitely help out our community on the west side. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have another speaker?
Nick Gwiller?
Good evening, welcome.
Good evening, Chairman Bose and Commissioners. I'm in favor of this project for the main reason is that I live on the west side near L8 and 50th Street, and I've been there for about 5 years. And the most glaring omission of retail seems to be on the west side of town, and I'm really looking forward to some businesses being on the west side of town. I think it'll cut down on congestion for me personally, driving towards 10th Street where it seems everything's located, and it'd be nice to stay in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Have another speaker?
William Ball.
Good evening, sir, and welcome.
Chairman Voss and committee, I'm here representing a coalition of senior citizens and disabled individuals living on the west side. We are strongly in favor of this project simply because we will no longer have to drive 5 or 6 miles if we want to go out and grab a hamburger, hopefully take our spouse out for dinner now and again. And when this development is completed, we feel that we will be able to act and feel like normal people, be able to live as a part of and take part in the community. We strongly urge the passing of the plan for this project, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for your comments.
I have no more speakers cards on this item, Mr. Chairman.
No more speakers cards on this matter? All right. Then, without objection, the public hearing is closed, and we'll consider the matter. What's your pleasure, folks? Any questions, comments, motion?
I do have a comment. I appreciate the developer working out the issues with the neighbors, but the gas station definitely concerns me. I mean, I think due to the fact that the 60th Street West has one gas station, that's going to be extremely important. I think it's going to get a lot of use. So when we look at that, I think we need to get that one right. So hopefully, when you find out who the vendor is going to be, you get that plan going, and it's in a good way. I would like to see, of course, in and out access, not necessarily seeing backing up, but hopefully the planners and the architect can get together and get something banged out.
Thank you. Anyone else? So, what's your pleasure? We have a recommendation before us.
I move that we adopt resolution number 0909 approving conditional use permit number 07-12, including revised site plan and conditions.
Second that.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Mr. Molly? Any further discussion or comment?
I'd like to clarify that by approving this plan, how are we ensuring that the gas station does have direct drive-through access to loading and unloading gas? Do we need to put that in as a condition as we approve this?
If that's something the commission feels needs to be a part of any design that they ultimately come up with, then it should be added as a condition.
And if we do not add it as a condition, then it could be or it could not be when it's finalized. Correct. Is that correct? Okay. Then I'd like to mention to my fellow commissioners that I think we should put that in as a condition. The applicant has already mentioned that they would not have a problem doing so, so I think
Well,
it would...
to continue down that line, let me suggest this. Maybe this would work better. If the applicant is assuming that everyone concurs with your position, Mr. Berkey, and that we modify the conditions of approval to include that, and the applicant is unable to accommodate that, then it would come back before the commission, and we would review it. So, would that be fair if we did it that way? Mr. Ludicky?
Yeah, that would be one approach to it.
It's a matter of fairness here. I mean, since there's
I agree.
Since there's no tenant, and we really don't know what the ultimate configuration would be.
That's true. I think as a practical matter, although I suppose there's always a chance it couldn't happen that way, I think ultimately you're going to see the design in some form, because I believe they will be back in front of you for a mini market with or without alcohol. And
so are you suggesting then, for instance, if there's a conditional use permit application for alcoholic beverages, then the entire pad in its configuration and all the conditions are open for review?
That is an appropriate part of the review for the alcohol, yes.
Uh-huh. So do you want to gamble or you want to amend it?
No, I'm fine with that. I don't see where that pad's going to be used for anything else, and if they put gas in there, I'm confident there's going to be a mini market, so I'm okay.
To leave it the way it is?
Yep, leave it the way it is.
Everyone else? Any other comments, concerns? Ready to vote? Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Very good, thank you. The applicant for item number 6, it's the same matter, and if the commission concurs, we'll take that up at this time, so we can be done with this project today. Any objections? Okay. All right, then, we'll hear agenda item number 6, which is a new public hearing on conditional use permit 0903, which is a request for incidental off-sale alcohol beverage establishment, a Type 21 license for the proposed CVS Long's Drug Store facility at the northwest corner. So without objection, we'll open the public hearing and hear a staff report.
Chairman Voss, did you want to hear the staff report if we have an uncontested letter?
Oh, you do? I'm sorry. I overlooked that. Thank you for pointing that out. We do have a letter from Landmark Realty Group, which I'm assuming is the representative of the CVS. So, unless a commissioner wants to hear a staff report, all right then. Let's hear from the applicant, if we have one.
Good evening again.
Good evening and welcome.
Hani Malak, McKenzie Malak Architects. We are in concurrence and agreement with all of the conditions, save one minor modification we'd like to make or would like to request of the commission. The hours of operations for CVS is from 7 to midnight, so we'd like to amend the alcohol sales from 8 to 12 to 7 to 12. So it's in conjunction with the hours of operation of the store. So if we can make that one request, that'd be greatly appreciated. That we just make the amendment to that.
All right, hang on a moment.
This is in condition number 2 under the alcohol conditions.
That may prompt a question from someone. What item is that on the?
Under the alcohol conditions, there is 5 conditions. I'm looking at condition number 2.
All right. So what you're asking us to do is modify it from, rather than 8 a.m. to 12 a.m., Sunday through Saturday, it's 7 a.m.?
Yes. To be in conjunction with our hours of operation.
Okay.
That's all I have.
That's all you have? All right. Any questions for anyone? Comments? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have another speaker?
The only other one I have is Scott McGuff from CVS.
All right, very good. Thank you. Welcome.
Chairman, Commissioners, my name is Scott McGuff. I'm the District Manager for CVS Pharmacy of the Antelope Valley. I'm here to answer any questions that you all might have about our operation, and I appreciate you considering the 7 a.m. start so we can open and serve the community. We're very excited about getting a drugstore on this side of town. So if you have any questions, I'm here to help.
All right, thank you. There may be some questions. Anyone? None. Thank you very much for your comments, sir. Any other speakers? All right, it'd be appropriate to close the public hearing without objection and to consider the staff recommendation that's before us and the applicant's request if you would care to make a modification.
I'll move to adopt resolution number 09-17 approving conditional use permit number 0903 and changing the hours of operation for the pharmacy from 8 to 12 to 7 to 12.
Alcohol sales.
Alcohol sales.
I'll second the motion.
Alcohol sales from 7 a.m. to midnight, huh? Is that what you're saying, Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
All right. We have a motion to have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
This is I think, in my opinion, the increased alcohol sales causes loitering, and quite frankly, I don't think it's necessary in the neighborhood to have individuals loitering around a specific spot due to vices. So I'm against it, but I guess we'll have it up for a vote.
All right, thank you for your comments. Anyone else? All right, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the resolution as amended under item 7. Please vote.
Motion passes 5-2 with the hour modified from 8 a.m. to 7 a.m.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda is a new public hearing for conditional use permit 0708, a request of 1-year extension. That's item 3 on your agenda. So without objection, the public hearing is open on this item. We did receive, I believe. No, we did not receive a letter on this one that I'm aware of, so we'll have to have a staff report, please.
Chairman Vos and Commissioners, the applicant is Insight Development, and they're requesting a mixed-use project consisting of approximately 140 new dwelling units, the reuse of an existing commercial building for a restaurant and entertainment lounge purposes, including on-site sale of alcoholic beverages. Basically, they're asking for an extension. They've had 2 years already, and right now, this would be the first and only request available for the extension. The applicant has requested an extension due to financial constraints, although he has submitted building plans for the plan check for the portions of the project and expects to begin physical work on the site in the next couple of months. We do know that he's been in contact with staff and is working on the project, so we are recommending that you approve this extension. That concludes my staff report.
Thank you. And I have been made aware of the added 4 conditions. as it relates to,
Yes.
all right, thank you. Anyone else have questions or comments? All right, do we have any speakers on this matter, Mr. Ludicky?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Then without objection, the public hearing is closed, and you have the recommendation before you. Go ahead.
I make a motion to grant a one-year extension to June 18, 2010, based on the findings contained in the staff report and subject to added conditions numbers 17 through 20 and all other previously approved conditions.
I second the motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Next item is item number 4, which is a new public hearing on general plan amendment number 0901 and a pre-zoning case number 0901. The public hearing is now open on this matter, and shall we have a staff report, please?
Good evening, Chairman Vos and Commissioners. This is a staff report for General Plan Amendment number 09-01 and pre-zoning number 09-01. The project location includes 7,190 gross acres, or approximately 11 square miles, bounded to the north by Avenue E, to the south by Avenue H between 20th Street East and Division Street, and Avenue G between Division Street and 25th Street West, to the east by 20th Street East and to the west by 25th Street West. You can get a better idea of the project location by looking at the map. The city is requesting to amend the general plan land use designation for 1,358 acres from non-urban residential to heavy industrial, with an added request to amend 25 acres from non-urban residential to MR1, or multi-residential. The city is also requesting to pre-zone 362 acres to light industrial, 35 acres to MHP, or mobile home park, and 5,435 acres to RR 2.5, 1 unit per 2.5 acres, and 1,358 acres to heavy industrial, with an added request to pre-zone an additional 25 acres to MHP. So if we look at the exhibits, Exhibit B shows the general plan amendment, and it's basically just the heavy industrial area and the small area south of Leisure Lake for multi-residential. The pre-zoning consists of the entire area within the dashed lines to various zones as indicated on the map. The pre-zoning request is necessary to apply a zoning district to property outside the city limits prior to annexation of that property to the city. The pre-zoning would establish what the zoning will be upon annexation and would be effective if and when annexation occurs. The area proposed for pre-zoning to MHP is occupied with an existing 211-unit senior mobile home park, Leisure Lakes. The owner of Leisure Lakes has requested that the city include the property adjacent to the south for designation, also for an MHP use for future expansion. This requires a general plan amendment for an additional 25 acres to MR1 and pre-zoning of the land to MHP. The city proposes to buffer the mobile home park from the industrial uses with land for pre-zoning to RR 2.5. The area is proposed for pre-zoning to LI is west of Highway 14 and is already designated LI in the Lancaster General Plan. You should all have received additional a letter from Leisure Lakes in regards to property west of the freeway that they are requesting for a change to mobile home park as well. So that is for your consideration tonight as well, beyond the request stated in the staff report.
Does staff have any recommendation relative to the correspondence and requests from Leisure Lake?
Mr. Chairman, we would have preferred that we had been notified of this sooner. However, in light of the fact that they own that particular site, apparently do have long-term plans for expansion of the mobile home park facility there, we don't have any objection to a designation of that to a mobile home park zoning, as well as the appropriate general plan land use designation, with a caveat that we would not recommend changes outside of that to anything different, meaning that the remaining LI or light industrial zone designations and general plan designations that would abut that site would remain in place. Unlike the east side of the freeway, the west side of the freeway is, from our standpoint, a pretty integral part of the long-term Foxfield expansion area. We would not recommend changing any additional land beyond that 79 acres to any kind of rural or other kind of designation. So it would simply be a shift of 79 acres on the immediate west side of the freeway at Avenue E from light industrial to an MR designation on the general plan and a change in the pre-zoning to MHP, mobile home park.
So the resolution 0915 that's before us for consideration tonight has specific acreage calculations in it.
Yes.
So will you then, assuming there is a motion to adopt, read into the record the correct calculations? So
yes, we will ensure that the correct information would move forward to the council.
Assuming we approve
if the commission chooses to make that change.
All right. Thank you. All right.
So
Anything further? Go ahead.
Yeah, the general plan amendment and pre-zoning applications, they are in conjunction with an annexation proposal that will be taken to an upcoming city council public hearing. The project area is something we call the Green Corridor, which reflects the numerous existing resources available and the potential to develop and expand quote-unquote green industries. The Green Corridor would provide opportunities for waste-to-energy technologies, solar energy, and ethanol production. Recycled water instead of potable water from the ground would serve the facilities within the project area. The redesignation and pre-zoning of the property from rural residential to heavy industrial would provide the necessary land uses for these opportunities. In summary, the proposed general plan amendment and pre-zoning will facilitate the provision of future industrial facilities for the city, which would result in the creation of employment opportunities and other fiscal benefits. It supports the goals and objectives of the general plan as listed in the staff report. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of general plan amendment number 09-01 and pre-zoning number 09-01.
Thank you very much. Any questions from anyone before we open listen to testimony? Anyone? All right. Do I have speakers, please, Mr. Ludicky?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I have 3 speakers cards. 1 who is not listed, either favoring or opposition, and 2 listed as opposed. Alex Trosh. Doesn't matter. Pam Mills.
Welcome.
Hi. Commissioner Vos and Commissioners,
I live in the area where they propose to make it heavy industrial. We're currently county. We have substandard phone lines. We're all on wells. And to take and go ahead and develop this area, you have the same position like you had in the corridor for Fox Field. There's a lack of services. There's a lack of utilities. And we just oppose this heavy industrial area on that side of G, where if you go from the solar plant and you go towards 20th, that's already city property. And we just oppose being taken out of the county and being annexed into the city of Lancaster.
All right, thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
Rhonda McMichael.
Evening, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I'm opposed to it only for the fact is everyone out, we live on Division in between Avenue F and G. Everyone out there is on low income. Where would they go? Everybody's on fixed income, low income. I'm a leasing agent. They want 2 to 3 times the amount of the rent for everybody to move into another place. Nobody out there has that kind of money. And that's my major concern. So there would definitely be a fight because people own property out there. They're not going to want to give up what they own to have to pay more somewhere else. And there's plenty of places, plenty of open fields everywhere that I'm sure the city can pick. And we are rural, yes. I'd say I'd be okay with it becoming city if we can get the health department to go out and fix up where we live so we wouldn't live in the slums. But we're rural and we're on low income. That's my only objection to the whole thing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
Mr. Trosh.
Evening, welcome.
Good evening, everybody. I'm not a very good public speaker, so I hope this is not going to take too long. My name is Alex Trosh, and I live, I'm a 13-year resident in that area. Let me see, one second. I came mainly here to hear the information regarding this issue, but would like to voice my, and I'm sure, concerns of other residents. I don't know if I am for or against this, because I don't have enough information yet. I moved out here to rural LA County specifically for getting away from the city and the curb and gutter syndrome and to enjoy the open space. I specifically bought my residence in this industrial zone pocket of LA County. I collect older cars and therefore needed that M1 zone that I am in to store them and my residents to overlook and safekeep them. While I understand that change is a part of life, I do question the motivation. The city or somebody for the city has decided to annex this part of the county, I assume for financial gain and at the cost of the locals. I'm afraid that the day my neighborhood turns into city jurisdiction, that a fleet of meter maids and code enforcement officers will be unleashed on us to enforce new codes and rules and regulations and to impose fines or intimidation upon all residents in that area, mind you, one by one. I like rural life without sidewalks that never will be walked on. I don't mind the change if you would work with the local residents in the changes and not against them. I have a bunch of questions that I will all just voice here, and I guess you can address them afterwards if you would. Can you guarantee an easy transition and support for that, or refrain from code enforcement persecution? Will this bring an unreasonable Will this bring an unreasonable financial burden to the local residents and be an attempt to drive them out? 3, what about preserving the rural look that exists right now? 4, how does the change in codes and regulation affect the citizens currently living in the proposed area with the grandfathered in use? Can an amendment be made to current regulation to accommodate this? Basically, what I'm going to summarize all these questions also with, number one, what will change if this happens? Is this a fiscal decision? And will this improve what goes on there? Right now we have dump trucks flying down Avenue G, losing trash. Can I finish?
If you could wrap up quickly,
I've
please.
got
Your
two
time
more
has expired.
questions. Will it be easier or more difficult to develop once you annex it? Will law enforcement improve, or can I expect improvement as part of this annexation, or just more cost? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
I guess the question will go unanswered, or would anybody address some of it?
We'll find out when the hearing's closed and staff responds.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Do we have any other speakers?
I have no other speakers, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right, then. Without objection, the hearing is closed, and would staff care to address any of the comments, public comments?
I'll speak in general, Mr. Chairman, to the area that they're referring to. It is an area that, as we looked at what ought to be the appropriate pre-zoning, we were trying to find something that would accommodate what appeared to be a mix of uses. The county's zoning designation up in that area is what's known as a desert mountain zone. As best as we can tell, it allows just about everything. What we felt would work best was trying to find a zone classification that would allow certain uses that are apparently already established in that area that would work within our heavy industrial zone to remain. If they are expanded, upgraded in any way, yes, they would have to meet whatever the city's design requirements are. But I think it's important to also recognize that within the city's industrial zones, because of areas that we have in our city that are similar, there are provisions in both our light industrial and heavy industrial zones that permit legally established residences and other types of uses that were in conformance with the requirements that existed when they were established to remain. They are not they don't become non-conforming under our code. And by that I mean that they don't have some kind of a must-cease date on them. In other words, as long as they continue to operate them in accordance with the requirements that they had at the time, they can remain. So we felt that given and trying to weigh all of that, the heavy industrial zone classification was probably the best that we could recommend for that area. In regards to the questions on code enforcement and so forth, I don't believe that we're sufficiently along in any kind of discussion of that area to know how the city's approach would be. I don't think it's our intent to, quite frankly, go after any targeted areas up there at this point in time, only because we have code enforcement officers that are desperately busy within the current incorporated boundaries of the city and trying to deal with that. However, over the long term, certainly we're going to want to try to deal with health, safety, and other issues that may exist in that area. One of the speakers kind of alluded to that, and it certainly would be our intent to try to address those issues where possible. Those are my responses on it.
All right, thank you, sir. Any questions or comments from anyone? Concerns, anyone? All right, then. The public, excuse me, sir, the public hearing is closed. You've had your opportunity, and I would suggest that you would direct your questions to staff during the regular business hours here, or someone will speak to you at the end of the meeting, sir. Thank you. I think I indicated the public hearing is closed, didn't I? Okay. All right, we have the recommendation before us with the letter request as it relates to the Leisure Lake property. So what's your pleasure, folks?
I recommend we adopt resolution number 0915, resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Lancaster, California, recommending to the City Council approval of General Plan Amendment number 09-01 and pre-zoning number 09-01.
All right. No consideration for the Leisure Lake request?
Yes.
You want to include that in your motion?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Thank you.
So specifically would be to add 79 acres of MR? Or MHP, I guess it would be, wouldn't it?
Both MR and MHP.
MR and MHP, both, yeah. MR for the land use and MHP for the zoning, right? Which would then adjust another use, the light industrial down, right, by 79 acres, would that be right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we will, rather than try to perform math on the run here, we understand the intent of the commission's action if it's adopted, yes, and we would make those necessary corrections.
Okay. So that's the motion. If everyone's clear on the motion, do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Molly. All right. So do we have any questions or comments? Anything? All right. The motion is before us then to adopt the resolution or make a recommendation that, to the City Council to approve the general plan amendment and pre-zoning. Please vote.
Sorry, I hit the button one too many times. Can you reset?
Reset it, please. Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Come on.
All right. The motion, has it gone? You have to vote again. Vote again.
I do. It's gone.
There we go, 7-0.
Okay, motion passes 7-0 as amended. For the speakers that were here, as well as just information to the commission, the council will take up the issue of the general plan and pre-zoning on this area, as well as the issue of whether or not to adopt necessary action to initiate the annexation process at their meeting of June 23rd, which is a week from tomorrow night.
At 6 p.m. here, right?
6 p.m. here.
Okay. Thank you. All right. And the next item is item number 5, which is a new public hearing, conditional use permit 0523. What? Oh, excuse me, before we take this up, we're going to take a 5-minute break, recess. All right? Thank you. All right, folks, we'll be back in session here, and just, if we could.
He's brutal.
All right, we're back in session, and the last public hearing on our agenda is item number 5, a conditional use permit 0523, the applicant's Lancaster Baptist Church, and without objection, the hearing is open.
I need to make a comment at the outset. It was recommended to me to go ahead and mention that I am a current member of Lancaster Baptist Church, have been for nearly 22 years. And in so doing, I have no financial interest in the church as far as income. Therefore, it's been recommended that I stay for this hearing and be part of the process, which I'm looking forward to doing so.
Very good. Glad to have you here. We did receive a letter agreeing to all the conditions from the church, but maybe we could have a brief, I know it's a huge application, but maybe we could have a brief review of the application, please. Pretty exciting.
Thank you, Chairman Bose. Good evening, Commissioners. Lancaster Baptist Church is the applicant, and they are requesting approval for a conditional use permit to expand the existing church, private school, and college facilities. The phase project would include a construction of a new 60,000 square foot auditorium, a chapel, classrooms, athletic and event center, dining hall, cafe, bus storage, publication buildings, maintenance building, a lighted athletic field, outdoor amphitheater, additional dormitories, and faculty housing within a 20-year time frame. The overall phasing would occur in 11 phases. Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the project, which is the auditorium, north building, and administrative buildings, and multipurpose buildings, an academic building and baseball field, have been completed, which were approved under previous CUP back in 1995. As indicated on the site plan and the phasing plan, all development requirements would be met for each particular phase, including parking, landscaping, trash enclosures, drainage, and all off-site improvements would be included in each phase. Elevations for the future buildings for the project site are not available at this time. However, the applicant has indicated to staff that the design of these structures would be compatible with the existing buildings, which have a Mediterranean style of architecture. Because of the phasing of the project, certain flexibility would need to be granted to the planning director to allow minor modifications, including commencement date for the various phases as development occurs. In addition, the planning director would be authorized to approve modifications that do not substantially change the intent of the approved use or raise new issues not previously addressed. The planning director would also be responsible to monitor the design of the future buildings. A biological resources survey, a Phase 1 cultural resource study, Phase 1 environmental site assessment, a traffic study, and a lighting study was performed on the project site. The environmental concerns are listed in the mitigation measures attached to the project, and they will begin at each phase. The proposed time frame of 20 years offers the opportunity to ensure that the project is planned in an overall coordinated manner. Staff feels that the time frame for this project is reasonable and certainly in keeping with the long-term planning intent of the zoning. Staff is recommending approval of the request based on the site having sufficient area to accommodate the proposed development, adequate access and services being available for the use, and the lack of significant adverse effects on the surrounding areas after mitigation measures have been applied. This concludes my report. I will be more than happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions of staff before we hear from the public? All right. Do we have speakers, Mr. Ludicky?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have two listed.
All right.
Tim Christensen.
Good evening, sir, and welcome.
Good evening. Thankful for the commission and your role, and thank you, Brian. We've enjoyed working with the city staff. I want to say that first off. I want to say thank you on behalf of Pastor Chappell and our church congregation. Pastor is traveling out of town tonight, but he's praying for this meeting and thankful for the role of the commission as well as the city staff in our conditional use permit. We undertook this process many months ago, and we've been impressed by Mr. Ludicky, Ms. Donovan, Ms. Legans, Mr. Workman, and they have demonstrated a tremendous competency in their fields. They've been flexible and cooperative. They've offered a lot of constructive input over the months. They've attempted to be patient with the unique nature of a church, Bible college, Christian school, and a growing organization. And as a church, we're thankful for our role at serving the residents of the Antelope Valley. And I speak for our staff and for our pastor and for our church when I say that there's no other community we'd rather serve. And we're thrilled about the last 23 years. About 16 of those years, I guess, we've been developing this particular site, and before that, closer to downtown. And we're thankful for the opportunity. We also want to thank and recognize also here our architect, Jim Bickle, our local engineer, civil engineer, Barry Munns, and then, of course, our financial administrator of the church, Brother Ben Hobbs, is also here at the meeting. Thank you, and we look forward to the continued development of our campus and to the continued service to the community.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Do you have another speaker?
Jim Bickle.
Good evening, sir, and welcome.
Good evening. Thank you very much. My name is Jim Bickle from Bickle Underwood Architects. I just want to introduce myself to the commission and say thank you again to the staff. It's been really a pleasure working with you. This process, you can see by the date on the application, we've been involved in this for about 4 years, and 20-year master plan is quite an endeavor to take on, but the last 4 years have flown by so fast that I'm sure 20, and we'll see the build-out before we know it. I'm here in case you have any questions on any of the planning theory or any of the technical aspects of the plan. I'd be happy to answer those for you.
Thank you, sir. There may be some. Anyone? All right. Thank you for your comments, sir.
Thank you.
Any further speakers?
No other speakers' cards on this item, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Then it would be appropriate to close the public hearing without objection and consider the recommendation before us for conditional use permit 0523.
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution number 09-16, approving conditional use permit number 05-23.
Second. I'm louder.
I think it was ladies first. Right?
Loudest first.
Right. All right. It's been moved and seconded. Any further comments, questions? All right. Pardon? Let's vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Very good. Thank you. And congratulations on a great project. That concludes our action items for this evening. Do we have director's announcements? Oops. Yes, we do. Well, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, only the reminder of the special meeting scheduled for July the 7th.
Right, July 7th.
Regarding the 60th and L projects.
All right, thank you. Do we have anything from the commission before we hear comments on non-agenda items? Anything from the members? Nope. All right. So now is the time for public business from the floor on non-agenda items. This portion of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the commission on any subject regarding city business. Under state legislation, no action can be taken on non-agenda items. Members of the public should be aware of this when addressing the commission regarding items not specifically referenced on the agenda. You're required to please complete a speaker's card for the recording secretary. Individuals are allowed a time limit of 3 minutes each. Do we have a speaker?
Mr. Chairman, I have one card, Cleo Goss.
All right, Ms. Goss. Good evening and welcome.
I would like to put in a few comments and ask a couple of questions about the proposed supercenters to be built across the street from Quartz Hill High School. Assuming you all have another job, I'm assuming that you could not read the almost 3,000 pages for the draft EIR for these two projects, and instead focused upon the 50-page summary. I took time off from work to read the complete EIRs. And I have findings which I've passed off to give to you. And upon the overwhelmingly number of inadequacies, deficiencies, and half-truths I found in there. For instance, peak traffic counts are not representative of actual traffic data. They totally ignore traffic when the school leaves, students leave. The difference between morning time traffic and evening traffic is 50 cars. That's ridiculous for a school that has over 3,000 students. The data collection method is manual against the advice of most traffic counting consultants who say you should be taking an automated count and not a manual count. And, of course, they selectively picked the days that would be least populated in school traffic, picking holiday weeks and days when school was out, days that were half days. The urban decay analysis does not include any of the 67 stores located just a mile away on 50th Street in the traditional Quartz Hill Business District, but it does include non-existing shopping centers located 5 miles away that don't even have stores signed up, so how would they know what stores are in there and what could cause urban decay? The air emissions do not cover soot that comes from diesel exhaust, which falls within feet of the source instead of miles. They evaluated exhaust 6 miles away. Without commercial stores to service, there would be no reason for these diesel trucks to drive 5 miles away from the closest freeway exit to this residential neighborhood. And soot is the most destructive to the health of children. Since their lungs are still developing, they have a higher respiratory rate and they breathe deeper than an adult does. And, for instance, the Lane Ranch project forgets entirely what the name of their major anchor store is when it comes to evaluating air pollution. And why do they do that? Because they don't want to include transportation refrigeration units, which are the most air-polluted, dangerous vehicles that you can have. And, you know, these units are used to transport frozen foods, fresh produce, meat, and dairy products, and a super target would be doing that. It also does not include any sort of calculations for the supposed restaurants and fast foods that also be included in this. And as far as I know, competing supercenters and fast food chains do not truck pool. The total number of daily deliveries for the major stores is 26 heavy-duty diesel trucks deliveries per day. This does not include any of the other shops, restaurants, and fast foods. And even with this limited number of deliveries and shaving off 25% off the customer traffic estimates, both EIRs find these projects will have a significant unavoidable impact to public health.
Thank you for your comments. Your time has expired. Thank you.
Could you answer my questions?
Thank you for your comments. Your time has expired. All right. Any further speakers?
I have no other speakers' cards, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. All right, then. It would be appropriate, then, to consider our adjournment to Monday, June 29th at 5:30 in the large planning conference room.
won't say it any other way, but this is really important. It means a lot more to me than it probably does to a lot of people here, because I want to be there for them. I don't want them to be afraid of me or afraid of what I might do, but they're so precious to me that I would do anything for them. And so that's why I'm here, and I just want to say this is really cool.
Well, thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing that with us. And it brings up I didn't touch on it, was